I will never forget how Amanda and I started. College sweethearts, we shared dreams of building our life together in that small suburban house. 4 years of marriage filled with weekend getaways, dinner dates, and passionate nights. Everything seemed perfect until work took over her life, and suddenly her words cut through me like a knife. "Not tonight or any night," she declared. I stood there, rejected and confused. Before I share how I faced this painful rejection and redirected my life, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you have ever had to redefine a relationship that was falling apart. I was 35 years old when my world started to crumble, though I did not recognize the signs right away. As a software engineer at TechWave Solutions, I had built a stable career that allowed Amanda and me to live comfortably. We had met 5 years earlier at a technology conference in San Francisco. I was presenting a new debugging tool our team had developed, and she was there representing her marketing firm. During the networking session, Amanda approached me with thoughtful questions about the practical applications of our software. Her intelligence immediately caught my attention, but it was her laugh that made me ask for her number. It had a musical quality to it, genuine and warm. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant near the bay. We talked until the owner politely informed us they were closing. That night, walking her to her car under the San Francisco stars, I felt something I had not experienced before, a sense of possibility. Our relationship progressed quickly after that. We dated for a year, spending weekends exploring California's coastline and evenings discussing everything from quantum physics to reality television shows. When I proposed on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean, her yes was immediate and enthusiastic. 6 months later, we had a small wedding with just 50 guests, closest friends and family. The early years of our marriage were everything I had hoped for. We purchased a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet suburban neighborhood about 30 minutes from both our workplaces. Weekends were spent painting walls, planting a small vegetable garden in the backyard, and turning the empty rooms into our home. The master bedroom became our sanctuary, with a king-sized bed facing large windows that let in the morning light. Our physical and emotional connection was deep and satisfying. Amanda would often initiate intimacy, surprising me when I returned from work or waking me up on lazy Sunday mornings. We were open about our desires and needs, creating a level of trust I had never experienced before. We talked about having children eventually, but agreed to enjoy our time together first, building our careers and traveling when possible. We took weekend trips to wine country, spent a memorable 2 weeks in Italy for our second anniversary, and began saving for a longer trip to Japan. Our conversations about the future included plans for children, perhaps in our late 30s, and eventually buying a larger house with a view. I truly believed we were building towards something lasting and beautiful. The first significant change came after Amanda had been working at her marketing firm for 3 years. Her dedication and creative campaigns caught the attention of senior management, and she was offered a promotion to marketing director. The new position came with a substantial salary increase, but also significantly longer hours and greater responsibilities. Suddenly, she was leaving home at 6 in the morning, and often not returning until 8 or 9 at night. I supported her, completely understanding that this was an important step in her career. To make things easier, I took on more household responsibilities, cooking dinner most nights, and handling the majority of the cleaning and errands on weekends. I would have dinner waiting when she came home, hoping to give her time to relax and reconnect. At first, Amanda expressed gratitude for my support. She would kiss me when she came home, share stories from her day over the dinner I had prepared, and make an effort to be present during our limited time together. But gradually, those moments of connection became less frequent. She would come home, eat quickly while checking emails on her phone, and then retreat to the home office to continue working until bedtime. Our intimate life began to change as well. What had once been a natural, frequent expression of our connection became increasingly rare. From several times a week, we went to once a week, then once every 2 weeks, and, eventually, once a month, if I was lucky. When I would initiate, Amanda would gently push me away with the words that would become all too familiar. "Not tonight, honey. I am exhausted." I tried to be understanding. Her new position was demanding, and she was proving herself in a competitive environment. The stress and fatigue were understandable, and I told myself things would improve. once she adjusted to her new responsibilities. But even as I made excuses for the growing distance between us, I could not ignore the confusion and hurt I felt each time I was rejected. Around this time, a new name began appearing in Amanda's work stories. Jason, a creative director who had recently joined her firm. She mentioned him casually at first, his innovative ideas, his experience working with major brands, his sense of humor during stressful meetings. I thought nothing of it initially, pleased that she had found someone who made the workplace more enjoyable. Looking back, I should have noticed how her eyes lit up when she spoke about him, or how she began making more effort with her appearance before heading to work. But I was too focused on supporting her success too, trusting in the foundation we had built together to see the warning signs of what was to come. The moment everything changed was crystal clear in my mind, preserved in painful detail like an insect trapped in amber. It was our third wedding anniversary, and despite Amanda's increasingly distant behavior, I was determined to rekindle the connection we seemed to be losing. I left work early that day to prepare. I cleaned the house thoroughly, bought fresh flowers for the dining table, and spent hours preparing her favorite meal, grilled salmon with roasted vegetables and risotto. I opened an expensive bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon to breathe lit candles throughout the living and dining rooms, and created a playlist of songs that had been meaningful throughout our relationship. When Amanda walked through the door at 7:30, her surprise seemed genuine. For a moment, I saw a flash of the woman I had fallen in love with as she took in the transformed space and the effort I had made. We had a pleasant dinner. The conversation flowed more easily than it had in months, helped along by the wine and memories the music evoked. After dessert, I took her hand and led her to the couch, kissing her the way I used to before the distance grew between us. For a few moments, she responded, and hope flickered inside me. Then she pulled away, placing her hands firmly on my chest to create space between us. The words she spoke next would echo in my mind for months to come. "Not tonight, Floyd," she said, then added with finality. "Or any night. I just do not feel that way anymore." The pain was immediate and overwhelming, like a physical blow to my chest. I struggled to breathe as I searched her face for any sign of the love we had once shared. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I mean that I do not want to be intimate with you anymore," she replied, her voice detached and clinical, as if she were explaining a business decision rather than shattering our marriage. "It is not working for me. It has not been for a while." I spent that night lying awake beside her sleeping form, my mind racing with questions. Was it something I had done or failed to do? Had I gained too much weight or become boring? Had the passion simply died a natural death? The space between us in that bed felt infinite, and I had never felt more alone. In the weeks that followed, I tried repeatedly to understand what had happened to us. I initiated conversation after conversation, each one more desperate than the last. "Is there something specific that changed?" I would ask. "No," she would reply. "I just do not have the desire anymore." "Is there something I can do differently?" I would press. "It is not you, Floyd. It is me. I just do not feel sexual anymore," she would say, though I noticed she had no trouble looking attractive when leaving for work. I began to examine myself critically, wondering if physical changes had contributed to her loss of interest. I joined a gym, bought new clothes, got a modern haircut. I read relationship books and articles about rekindling desire in long-term marriages. I tried surprising her with gifts, little things she had mentioned wanting. I suggested a weekend getaway to Santa Barbara, hoping that a change of scenery might help. Nothing worked. Each attempt was met with the same polite but firm rejection. The physical distance created emotional distance, and soon we were living like polite roommates rather than husband and wife. Desperate for perspective, I confided in my closest friend Jack during a lunch break at work. He listened without judgment as I poured out my frustrations and fears. "Have you considered marriage counseling?" he asked after I finished. "I have, but I am not sure she would agree," I admitted. "It might be worth asking," Jack suggested. "Sometimes a neutral third party can help uncover issues you are both missing." That night, I broached the subject of counseling. To my surprise, after some initial resistance, Amanda agreed. I scheduled an appointment with a therapist specializing in marital issues, feeling a small spark of hope for the first time in months. The counseling sessions were frustrating exercises in futility. While I spoke openly about my feelings of rejection and confusion, Amanda participated minimally, offering vague responses and general statements about feeling pressured and misunderstood. After 4 sessions, it was clear we were making no progress. The therapist suggested individual sessions, but Amanda declined, citing her busy work schedule. I turned to self-help, instead devouring books on psychology, relationships, and personal growth. I journaled about my feelings and tried to practice self-compassion while giving Amanda space. I told myself that sometimes relationships go through difficult phases, and with patience and understanding, we might find our way back to each other. Then came the discovery that shattered any remaining illusions I had about our marriage. It happened on a Tuesday evening. Amanda had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she took a shower. A text notification lit up the screen, and because she had never locked her phone around me, I could see the message preview. Miss you too. Last night was amazing. Cannot wait to see you again. Jay. My stomach dropped. With shaking hands, I picked up the phone and opened the message thread. What I found was weeks of exchanges between Amanda and Jason, her coworker. Intimate messages, plans to meet at a hotel, complaints about having to go home to me. The most recent messages confirmed they had been together the previous night when Amanda had told me she was working late. I sat at the kitchen table, phone still in hand, when Amanda emerged from the bathroom. She knew immediately from my face that something had changed. You left your phone unlocked, I said, my voice strangely calm despite the hurricane of emotions inside me. Her face went through a rapid succession of expressions: shock, guilt, defiance, and finally, a cold resignation. There was no denial, no attempt to explain away the messages. How long? I asked. 6 months, she replied. 6 months. Half a year of lies, deception, and rejection, while I had been trying desperately to save our marriage. Why not just leave? I asked. Why stay and make me feel like I was the problem? She shrugged, a gesture so casual, it felt like another slap in the face. The house is in both our names. Financially, it is complicated, and I did not know if this thing with Jason would last. In that moment, I realized that my wife had not only betrayed me, she had been using me, keeping me as a safety net while she explored her options. All the while letting me believe I was somehow failing her. For 2 weeks after discovering Amanda's affair, I moved through life in a fog of pain and disbelief. I took time off work, unable to focus on code or debugging issues when my personal life had crashed so completely. I barely ate, losing 12 pounds without trying. Sleep came only in short, troubled bursts, frequently interrupted by nightmares or the simple, cruel reality that would hit me anew each time I woke. The woman I loved had betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. Amanda, seemingly affected by my discovery, suggested we try to rebuild. She tearfully promised to end things with Jason, assuring me it had been a mistake, a temporary insanity brought on by workplace stress and proximity. Part of me, a part I now recognize, was desperate and afraid, wanted to believe her. I want to try, I said finally. But things need to change. Complete transparency. No more late nights at the office. And we need to go back to counseling for real this time. She agreed to everything, and for a brief period, I allowed myself to hope. She came home earlier. She showed me text messages where she told Jason it was over. She participated more actively in counseling sessions. She even initiated physical contact, though I was not ready to be intimate again. But my trust had been irreparably damaged, and I found myself checking her location, looking through her emails when she left her laptop open, listening for inconsistencies in her stories about her day. It was exhausting and made me hate the person I was becoming: suspicious, paranoid, controlling. My instincts proved correct. 3 weeks into our reconciliation attempt, I used Amanda's laptop to check our shared calendar for an upcoming dental appointment. When I opened the browser, her email was still logged in. There was a new message from a travel booking site confirming a weekend reservation at a beachfront hotel in Santa Monica for Amanda Parker and Jason Reeves. The dates were for the following weekend, when she had told me she would be visiting her college roommate in San Diego. That confirmation was my breaking point, not just another betrayal, but the clarifying moment that showed me exactly where I stood in her priorities. I was a convenience, nothing more. I spent that night in a hotel, unable to stomach the thought of sleeping beside her for even one more night. The next morning, I met with a divorce lawyer. Before going to work, the consultation provided two important pieces of information. I had more legal protection than Amanda had led me to believe, and her affair would work in my favor during proceedings. I also spoke with a financial advisor about separating our accounts and protecting my assets. As I drove home that evening, a strange sense of calm had replaced the churning emotions of the previous weeks. I was done being a victim. It was time to redirect my time, attention, and resources toward the only person who truly had my best interests at heart, myself. I realized that for years I had been pouring everything into a relationship that had become fundamentally one-sided. My time spent cooking meals. Amanda barely acknowledged my attention, focused on her needs, while mine went unmet. My financial resources, supporting a lifestyle that facilitated her betrayal. No more. That night, when Amanda tried to engage me in conversation about renovating the guest bathroom, I simply said, I am making some changes in my life. I would suggest you prepare to do the same. The confusion on her face might have once prompted me to explain, to soften my words. Instead, I went to the spare bedroom where I had been sleeping and closed the door. The next few weeks were transformative. I opened a separate bank account and transferred half of our savings. I adjusted my direct deposit so only my portion of the household expenses went to our joint account. I consulted with a realtor about the value of our home and options for selling. But the redirection was not just financial. I reclaimed my time by signing up for a photography class on Tuesday evenings. I had always been interested in visual arts, but had set it aside to accommodate Amanda's schedule. I joined a weekend hiking group, meeting people who shared my love of the outdoors and physical challenge. I connected with a support group for men going through divorce, finding unexpected comfort in the stories of others who had rebuilt their lives after similar betrayals. In those weekly meetings, I learned that my experience, while painful, was not unique, and that many had emerged stronger and happier on the other side. I began journaling daily, using writing as therapy to process my emotions and clarify my thoughts. Through this practice, I realized how much of myself I had compromised in trying to save a marriage that had been broken long before I discovered the affair. As I reclaimed parts of myself and discovered new strengths, Amanda seemed increasingly unsettled by the changes. She vacillated between attempts to recapture my attention and cold distance when those attempts failed. The power dynamic had shifted, and we both knew it. 2 months after discovering the hotel reservation, I was ready for the final confrontation. I took a day off work and spent it packing Amanda's belongings. I did not do this out of cruelty but efficiency. I carefully folded her clothes, boxed her personal items, and stacked everything neatly in the guest room. I left out only what she would need for a few days. When she arrived home that evening, I was waiting in the living room, calm and resolved. "What is going on?" she demanded, seeing the single suitcase I had left by the door. "I have redirected my time, attention, and resources," I explained, standing to hand her an envelope. "This contains divorce papers my lawyer has prepared. You will find the terms fair. I am also giving you 3 weeks to find a new place. I will be keeping the house and buying out your portion of the equity. The amount is detailed in the papers." She stared at me in shock. "You cannot do this. This is my home too." "I should have seen this coming," she said accusingly, as if I were the one who had shattered our vows. "You have been pulling away for months." The irony of her statement might have once hurt me. Now, it only confirmed I was making the right decision. "You can check into the Santa Monica Hotel," I suggested, unable to resist the small jab. "I hear they have vacancies now that you have canceled your reservation with Jason." Her face paled. "You have been spying on me." "No, Amanda. I have been waking up to reality. Your belongings are packed in the guest room. Take what you need tonight. We can arrange for the rest later." She switched tactics, then moving closer and placing a hand on my arm. "Floyd, please. We can still fix this." I made mistakes, but I do care about you. For a brief, wavering moment, I remembered the woman I had fallen in love with. Then I remembered the months of rejection, the lies, the discovery of her continuing affair, even as she claimed to be recommitting to our marriage. I gently removed her hand. I care about me too. That is why this is happening. She threatened legal action, claimed. I could not force her out. Said I would regret treating her this way. I remained calm, referring her to the lawyer whose contact information was included with the divorce papers. When she finally left with the suitcase slamming the door behind her, I expected to feel either triumph or devastation. Instead, I felt something unexpected: freedom, and the first quiet stirrings of hope for a future entirely of my own making. The house felt strangely peaceful in the days following Amanda's departure. I walked through rooms that had once felt constricting and found them spacious, full of possibility. The silence, rather than echoing with loneliness, hummed with potential. For the first time in years, I could simply be without anticipating another person's needs or measuring my worth through their approval. That is not to say the transition was easy. There were nights I woke reaching for someone who was no longer there. Moments when a memory would ambush me in the grocery store, finding myself automatically reaching for Amanda's favorite yogurt or coffee creamer. Each time the pain would wash over me, but increasingly it was followed by a sense of relief. The pain was clean now, honest, no longer compounded by deception. 3 months after filing for divorce, I sold the house. Though legally I could have kept it, too many memories lingered in those walls. I found a modern one-bedroom apartment downtown, closer to my office and the vibrant city life I had often missed in our quiet suburb. The process of furnishing and decorating my new space became an unexpected source of joy. I chose a minimalist aesthetic, nothing like the cluttered traditional style Amanda had preferred. Clean lines, open space, large windows that flooded the rooms with natural light. A comfortable leather sofa faced a modest television, but the real focal point was a wall of bookshelves housing my collection of science fiction novels, technical manuals, and the photography books I had begun collecting. The bedroom was deliberately tranquil blues and grays, a platform bed, simple nightstands. No television, no distractions, just a space for rest and reflection. The kitchen, though small, had high-end appliances that supported my growing interest in cooking for pleasure rather than obligation. My hiking group had become an important part of my new life. Every Saturday, regardless of weather, we would tackle different trails in the surrounding mountains. Through these excursions, I formed genuine friendships with Sam, a high school science teacher with a dry wit, and Daniel, a recently retired firefighter with seemingly inexhaustible energy and fascinating stories. Our conversations on the trails, ranging from philosophical discussions about purpose and fulfillment to ridiculous debates about the best burger joint in town, helped heal parts of me I had not realized were wounded. Male friendship, I discovered, offered a straightforward acceptance I had been missing. My first solo hiking trip was a 3-day backpacking excursion along a challenging mountain route. Standing on a summit at sunrise, muscles aching pleasantly from the previous day's climb, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This moment belonged entirely to me, not a shared experience to be compromised or accommodated, but my own achievement. I took a photograph of the sunrise that later became the first piece of my own work I hung on my apartment wall. As my physical strength increased through regular hiking and a more mindful approach to nutrition, I found my emotional resilience growing as well. The divorce proceedings, which Amanda had initially threatened to complicate, progressed relatively smoothly once she realized I had documented her infidelity and consulted financial experts to ensure fair but firm separation of assets. 6 months after our separation, with the legal process nearly complete, I took stock of my professional situation. While my job as a software engineer provided security and good income, I had been nurturing an idea for months, an application that would help people navigate the practical aspects of major life transitions, including divorce. I enrolled in an online business course learning about startup fundamentals, funding options, and marketing strategies. Evenings and weekends became dedicated to developing a business plan and building a prototype of my app. The project gave me purpose beyond just surviving my divorce. It allowed me to transform that painful experience into something potentially helpful for others. As my external circumstances stabilized, I turned my attention inward. Through regular sessions with a therapist and daily meditation practice, I began examining the patterns and beliefs that had led me to remain in an unhealthy relationship for so long. I recognized my tendency to seek validation through caregiving, my fear of confrontation, and my habit of minimizing my own needs. I learned to cook new dishes that served my health and preferences, not just quick meals to accommodate someone else's schedule. I developed a routine that honored my natural energy patterns, working early in the morning, when my mind was sharpest, exercising in the afternoon, enjoying quiet evenings with books or photography projects. I no longer needed to arrange my life around another person's demands or moods. 9 months after Amanda moved out, I attended a personal development workshop focused on authentic communication. During a partner exercise, I was paired with Sarah, a children's book illustrator with bright eyes and an infectious laugh. Our assigned task was to share something we were working to change about ourselves. I found myself explaining my journey with surprising candor, how I was learning to value my own needs without feeling selfish, how I was practicing setting boundaries after years of having mine disregarded. Sarah listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions without judgment or platitudes. At the end of the workshop, we exchanged contact information, and over the following weeks, developed a friendship based on genuine interest and respect. Our conversations were refreshingly direct. When she asked about my divorce, I shared the experience honestly, including my own contributions to the breakdown of the relationship. Unlike my approach with Amanda, where I had often swallowed disagreements, to keep the peace, I was straightforward about my thoughts and feelings with Sarah. When we disagreed, we discussed our perspectives openly without either of us attempting to manipulate or control the other. This new dynamic felt revolutionary. 3 months into our friendship, during a hike along the coast, Sarah turned to me with characteristic directness. "I really enjoy spending time with you, Floyd. I would like to explore whether there might be something more between us. What do you think?" Instead of jumping at the opportunity or retreating in fear, I gave her question the consideration it deserved. "I enjoy being with you too," I replied. "But I want to be transparent about where I am. I am still processing my divorce, still learning who I am on my own. If we decide to explore a relationship, I would need to take things slowly." She appreciated my honesty, and we agreed to move forward with clear communication and respect for each other's boundaries. Our first official date was dinner at a new restaurant downtown, followed by an outdoor jazz concert. Sitting beside her under the stars, I felt an unfamiliar sensation. It took me a moment to identify as contentment. As our relationship developed, I maintained my independent interests and friendships. Sarah did the same, continuing her book illustration work and weekly pottery classes. We came together not out of need or habit, but from genuine desire to share our lives while still honoring our individual journeys. 1 year after discovering Amanda's affair, I received the final divorce decree. That evening, sitting on my apartment balcony, watching the sunset, I reflected on the transformation of my life. The pain that had once seemed unbearable had become the catalyst for growth I might never have experienced otherwise. By redirecting my time toward activities that fulfilled me, my attention toward people who valued me, and my resources toward building a life aligned with my true self, I had discovered a fundamental truth. Sometimes, what feels like rejection is actually redirection. Amanda's words, "not tonight or any night," had been the beginning of a journey towards self-discovery and authentic living. When we face betrayal or rejection, we have a choice. We can remain stuck in the pain, defining ourselves as victims of someone else's actions. Or we can use that moment as a turning point, redirecting our precious resources of time, attention, and energy toward building something better. I chose redirection, and in doing so, found not just healing, but transformation. The man I am today, more confident, more authentic, more at peace, is someone I never would have become without first experiencing that painful rejection. For that unexpected gift, I am strangely grateful. Have you ever experienced a painful rejection that ultimately led to positive change in your life? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to join our community of people turning pain into growth. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that rejection can be the beginning of redirection. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember sometimes the end of one chapter is exactly what you need to write a better one.